Hey everyone, it's Rita here. I want to talk about my experience with being skinny and with being fat. My whole life, I have been I've been extremely skinny, but not in a healthy way, not in a muscular, good way. I have been skinny in a way that atrophied muscles. You know, there's this guy. I'm trying to think of his name. Anyway, he's the author of The Ultimate Fit or Fat, and he says that skinny people are actually fatter in their muscle than fat people, because fat people at least have enough muscle to carry their extra weight around. But skinny people, they are constantly suffering from the fact that they don't have the extra weight to carry around, and so their muscle actually has a great deal of fat in it. And I don't mean healthy skinny. I mean like people who have atrophied muscles, people who don't go to rehab, people that don't build themselves back up. And that was, for many years, that was me. For most of my life, that was me. And only in recent years has the fat actually spread outward from my more fatty muscles into extra fat. Something that something that I encountered. I think it was this year or maybe last year. I was talking to a Pakistani friend of mine, and this guy, he's an old friend of mine. He's let's see, we met. I think we met 6 years ago, and anyway, we were talking, and he really liked my recent videos and my recent pictures that I've been posting. And we were talking, and he said, "You look very beautiful. You look very fat." And of course, in America, when people talk about fat, they're talking about obesity. They're talking about unhealthy fat. We're talking about fat that is comes from a more sedentary lifestyle. You're sitting down. You're you're doing things in a more sitting position. But he was talking about something that is not true in Pakistan. He was that thing in America is not true in Pakistan. In Pakistan, everybody's skinny because literally everybody is somewhat underfed. Only the rich people have any fat because only the rich people can afford enough food to have fat. The poor people, they're skinny, but they're muscular skinny because they're working really hard and they don't have enough food, and literally their bodies are kept in shape not out of total health, but out of just a necessity to keep everything super super high functioning for their jobs and for their home life, and the fact that they're just not getting enough food, not because they're dieting or things like that. Pakistanis don't diet; they literally just starve. They just don't have enough food. And this guy was complimenting me by calling me rich, beautiful, and fat. And these things were the same things in his mind. And of course, in America, the poorest people in the world can be fat because we are we're able to maintain. Poor people in America are not anything like poor people in other countries. So anyway, in more recent years, I've put on quite a bit of fat because the fat in my muscles actually spread outward, and my sedentary lifestyle, my atrophied muscles actually spread out to where I was fatter, and I'm fatter now. I'm not as fat as I had been, but I'm still pretty fat now. And so anyway, this interesting conversation with my Pakistani friend really got me thinking. Because at first I was like, in America we don't call women fat. It's not something that we do. But even fat women, we don't call them fat. It's considered offensive. But this guy, now there has been a movement online where fat women have tried to say that we're real women. But I mean, come on. Everybody knows that if your body mass index is above a certain point, you're not real, you're fat. Okay? So let's stop calling fat women real women, okay? They're unhealthy, they're fat. I'm unhealthy, I'm fat, I know better than to be this fat. So let's not be let's not kid ourselves about that. I've always noticed that people who lie to other people, it has kind of an effect on other people, but not really. It barely backlashes to them. But people who lie to themselves, that always backlashes. Like usually within a week, it backlashes to that person. So I mean, I don't lie to myself. I know that I used to be unhealthily skinny, and now I'm unhealthily fat. Whatever. It's something that is true about me. I don't try to run from it. I don't try to say that I'm a real woman. Come on. It's unhealthy. I know it's unhealthy. Let's not kid ourselves about this. I do like my curves. I do like my large breasts, and I do like my long skinny legs. But the truth is, the parts of me that are skinny due to atrophied muscles. And if I continue living my sedentary lifestyle without exercising, and continuing to eat not in keeping with my sedentary lifestyle, the parts of me that are skinny would become fat as well. So I mean, there are upsides and there are drawbacks. My bra size is increased, but I am being unhealthy. And I can get myself into better shape. I can still have large breasts and muscular body. I'm not doing it. So anyway, this idea that this Pakistani guy thought that it was that I looked wealthier, I looked more beautiful because I was fat. That is a pre-opulent society mindset. That is, we in America come from a very opulent mindset, a very opulent society, because even our poor are are well fed and fat. But in this country, in Pakistan, um, only people who have extra food get to be fat. Only people who have extra food get the privilege of being called fat. And I think it's interesting. It was interesting saying that. It's interesting correcting him. I said, in America, um, we only call people fat. We don't call people fat as a compliment. We call them fat as an insult. We say that you eat too much. And of course, in his country, that's not something that happens very often. And so, um, I'm pretty sure that my concept of fat was just as foreign to him as his concept of fat was foreign to me. And I thought that was interesting. I thought it was interesting that in his world, me being fat would have made me look wealthier, more opulent, like I could like I was being fed more than the average Pakistani, and I really liked that idea. I liked the concept of it, but I also know where it comes from. It comes from the fact that the whole country is underfed, and they're just barely getting enough, to feed their muscles, and that's it. That's all they're getting. They don't have the opportunity to be fat like we do. So, I do like eating a lot. I don't think that there's anything wrong with eating whatever you want, whenever you want. I do think that we don't exercise enough. I think that kids are not fat because they move around a lot, and adults consider we wear more restrictive clothing, we have more sedentary lifestyles, but more importantly, we don't think it's cool to move around and crawl around on the floor and on the ground like kids do. And that's kind of a dangerous mindset to have, because adults have to be like kids in order to maintain their sense of fairness and playing and their playfulness and their positive relationships. And so when kids are exposed to the idea that they're on equal footings with adults, that they don't have to be more serious or more restrictive in order to be more adult-like. They continue to move more, and they move more, and the kid stays healthy, the adults around them stay healthy. So I don't think it's so much about eating. In fact, I kind of consider the idea of dieting to be kind of like mimicking the poor countries. I kind of consider that to be a shitty way of thinking. I consider movement to be the key, and I don't move very much myself. That is something that I don't do. So I know I'm not being hypocritical. I'm not saying that people should move and then I don't move. I am starting to garden back again, which is what I love to do, and that does keep me moving. And I do have a wonderful elliptical, um, but I don't have a work schedule that requires a lot of movement. And so I don't like when I go to work at a hospital or something like that, that will require a lot more movement. But just about all of my artistic creative endeavors involve me sitting down. So I kind of need to get into rock climbing, things that I would enjoy doing that involve movement. But until then, I'm kind of a fat, lazy, little American. Anyway, I would be interested to know what you think of fat people. Are you from a country where being fat means being opulent, being rich, having more than enough to eat? Are you like America, from a country where being fat just means that you're lazy, or that you have an unhealthy relationship with food? I know that people do have unhealthy relationships with food. I don't think that. I think that's easily corrected though, because I think that people should be allowed to eat as much as they want and whatever they want. I think it's the movement that really makes the difference. There is one thing I know. I know that you can't lose fat without building muscle first. Something I used to subscribe to was emails from this competitive bodybuilder. She was in those figure championships where they have competitive bodybuilders, and they compete, and they have these women are just ripped muscles. They're in their 40s to 60s, and they have these enormous ripped muscles, and they look amazing. And she said, people who think that you have to lose fat first before you build muscle, you're only going to lose like so much fat before your body will stop losing fat. And she says it's because you're not building the muscle to hold up your body. And so all this extra cardio you're doing, it's not being held up naturally it's hurting your body. It's not building. If you build muscle, then you have that extra strength with which to do more cardio, and that tends to melt off the rest of the fat. She says, but if you do cardio only and you do it past a certain point, you're not building more muscle, but you still have all this extra cardio to do. Your body's suffering, and it's really hurting you. So anyway, guys, I really want to hear from you. Please comment. Please comment below. Please tell me what you think of fat people, and do you consider yourself fat, and do you consider that to be a positive thing or a negative thing? What country you're from? What does your culture say about fat people? What does your culture say about healthy people and unhealthy people? In Pakistan, a fat person was healthy because they had access to more food. But in America, fat people, it's like we know about the body mass index, and we really care about things like that. So it's not so much that we're just more educated, but we're also more aware of how our lifestyle contributes to lack of health in different ways than a third world country's lifestyle contributes to lack of health. So we're we're all kind of evenly balanced out when it comes to things like that. So what do you guys think? I'd love to hear more about your thoughts on the subject, and I'd love to hear about what you think that a good healthy weight is for men and for women and for kids. And what do is this a controversial topic in your life or in your family, or is this something that's like, oh, well, no, we just kind of talk about it and then go and have a couple of lattes and who cares, So anyway, guys, I'd love to hear from you. Please like and subscribe. I always want to get your subscriptions. I always I want to see how many people like this, and I really want to hear from you guys. This is a two-way channel, guys. It's not just one way. I want to hear back from you. I want to hear your thoughts, because people make the world go round. I love you guys. Mwah. Bye.